Hi everyone, welcome back. And we're just continuing from our previous video where we looked at one-step subtraction equations. So in the previous video we looked at how to write subtraction equations, and in this video we are now going to learn how to solve subtraction equations. Okay, so and we spoke about the addition property of equality, meaning that if you have a subtraction equation like this, p minus 4 equals 10, then to solve this equation means to find the value of the missing number in place of the variable p. We're going to use the inverse operation, which is to add the two numbers. So to find p, because it's a subtraction equation, we're going to have to add these two numbers together to give us 14, and then testing it to see if it works. Okay, and that's what the addition property of equality means. We will use it for subtraction equations. Right, so let's move on to the first example, which is on page 354. The question says solve 32 equals to x minus 7, and then check your solution. Okay, so 32 equals to x means that's the variable being used, which means this is the missing number. And we use a variable, which means a letter of the alphabet, to indicate something that we do not know. And we now solve means we need to find that missing variable. So we want to know 32 is equal to some number x minus 7. What is that missing number? So sometimes it does get confusing. So what you're going to do is, you know that whenever we have a subtraction in your equation, we're going to use the inverse operation. So firstly, because it's subtraction, then we know that the inverse of subtraction is plus. Okay, so we're going to use addition. So we're going to take the 7 across to the other side and we're going to add it, so that x is actually equal to 32 plus the 7, giving us 39. And we are now going to check, is x equal to 39? So to do the check, we are going to rewrite the question. The question was 32 equals to x minus 7. Remember the question. And now in place of the x, we are now going to substitute this value that we found, this 39, and we're going to test, is 39, what is 39 minus 37? And yes, it is 32, so yes, it does equal to 32, which is in the equation. And so we can definitely conclude that definitely x is equal to 39, because when we put it into the equation, it makes the equation true. Right, going to the check question. Solve 2019 equals to x minus 731. So you can see again there's a subtraction. So we're going to use the inverse, means the opposite. The inverse of minus is plus. So to find this, we're going to add it. So to find our x value, we're going to say 2019, because that was there first, and we're going to add the 731, not subtract it, and to get our final answer for x. So you can do a long addition, 2019 plus 731. This will give us 10, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 2. So it's going to give us 2,750. Now it does make sense, because you know that when we subtract, the first number is always bigger than the number that it subtracts, as well as the answer. So the value that it starts with in a subtraction, which is the x, will be bigger than the 731 as well as bigger than the 2019. So it will, that's why we do add it as well to give us the values. Now we're going to check, is this answer correct? So we're going to write our question out again. 2019 equals x minus 731, and we're now going to test, does this answer that we just calculated for x, does it work? So we're going to try out 2750. If we minus 731, do I get, it's supposed to equal to 2019. If it does, that means it is correct. So 0 minus 1 we cannot minus. I will borrow 4 minus and become 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. And then 4 minus 3 is 1. 7 minus 7 is 0. And 2 minus nothing is 2. So you can see it does equal to 2019, and which is the value in the question. So definitely I can conclude that x is equal to 2750 because it makes the equation true. All right, moving on to the next question, which is the practice page on 357. Solve each equation and then check your solution. Solve means to find the value of the variable. Like if it's x, or are they using a or c or z, whatever the variable is, what is that missing variable? So the first question, question 5, is 24 equals to x minus 5. We want to find x. So we know there's a subtraction involved here, and we know the inverse of subtraction means we're going to do addition. So we're going to add this 5 to the 24 because we are finding x. So x will be 24 plus the 5 because it's the opposite of minus, which means it's going to be 29. So let's now check, is this answer correct? So we're going to go back to the equation, and remember the equation said x minus 5. So in place of the x, I'm going to put the 29, and I'm going to check, is 29 minus 5, does it equal to 24? And if it does, that means it's correct. So 29 minus 5, yes, it is equal to 24. So yes, I can see that 24 is equal to 29 minus 5. So 29 is correct. So I can conclude that the x value is equal to 29. Same for question 6. Here we have the z is the variable. We got minus in our equation. So to find the z, the inverse of a minus is to add. So we are now going to take this number and we're going to add it to the 19 because we are finding z. So we only want z. So z will be 19, which was here. And now we're going to add the 17. And that's going to give us 26. Right, we're now going to check, is this answer correct? So we're going to go back to the equation, z minus 7, and we're going to see, does it equal to 19? So in place of the z now, I'm going to put my 26, remember? And we're going to test, is 26 minus 7, what is that equal to? Yes, it is equal to 19. So that means that this x value, z value that I use is correct. So yes, I can make the conclusion that z is equal to 26. Same for question 9, but now we have decimal numbers. So we want to see 67.9. Is it equal to, it's equal to c, that means some number, minus 4.45. So because we got minus, we got subtraction, we know that the inverse of subtraction is to add. So to find the C, we are now going to add this number to the 67.9. So C will equal to 67.9 plus the 4.45. And you can do a long addition, 67.9 plus 4.45. Remember to line up your place values. Nothing plus 5 is 5. 9 plus 4 is 13. 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So we are getting that C is equal to 72.35. And you can now test, does the C value work, by putting it back into the equation. So the equation said that 67.9 must equal to the C value minus 4.45. And so in place of the C now, we're going to put in 72.35. And you can test it that when we subtract these two, does it equal to 67.9? And you will see that yes, it actually does. So let's do that quickly. So you can say 72.35 minus 4.45. 5 minus 5 is 0. 3, you cannot minus 4. We have to borrow. 13 minus 4 is 9. And 1, you cannot minus 4. We got to borrow. So 11 minus 4 is 7. And 6 minus nothing is 6. So yes, we are getting the 67.9. So that C value we chose is correct. So we can conclude that C is equal to 72.35. It is the correct answer. And I will leave this one for you to solve on your own. Okay. And you can pop your answer in the chat bar. Oh, sorry, in the comment section. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Let's just check one more thing. Is there something else here? Oh yeah, so now we also have questions, that involve fractions, still with subtraction equations. So here you can see m minus 13 and 2/3 is equal to 2 and 1/6. So again, we're going to subtract here, and to solve equations with a subtraction, we know that to find m, I'm going to take that over. We're going to have to add them up. So m will equal to 2 and 1/6 plus 13 and 2/3. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is you can change them into fractions, improper fractions if you want. So the first thing, I think that would be a quicker way. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Remember how to change a mixed number. And we use the same denominator, 13 over 6. Here we've got 13 times 3. 13 times 3 is 39. 39 plus 2 is 41. And we use the same denominator here, which is 3. Let's just check that. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. And then 13 times 3 is 39 plus 2, which is 41. Right, now we remember we cannot add fractions until we make both the denominators the same. So always look at the bigger denominator, which is 6, and see, can I make both of them 6? Yes, 3 can become 6 by multiplying it by 2. So I'm going to make both the denominators 6. The first fraction, the denominator is already 6, so the numerator will not change. It will stay 13. But the second fraction, 3 times 2 is 6, so the 41 will also have to get multiplied by 2 to create the equivalent fraction, and 41 times 2 is 82. Right, now I can add the numerators. 82 plus 31 is 95, so that gives me 95 over 6, right? But now remember, when you have a fraction and the numerator is bigger than the denominator, then you know it's going to change into a mixed number. That means that your answer is going to give you a whole number and a fraction. So let's see, 95 over 6 actually means 95 is divided by 6. So let's start. 6 times what gives us 9? I know 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12, so that's too much. I only have 9, so it goes there only one time, and I'll have a remainder of 3. Bring down the next number. I now have 35. I know 6 times 5 is 30, and 6 times 6 is 36. So 36 is too big, so I'm going to go with 6 times 5. So I can make 5 groups because 6 times 5 is 30, and my remainder is 5. So this means that I can make 15 whole groups. That with 95, I can make 15 groups of 6, because 6 times 15, and my remainder is 5, so that will be the fraction. Remember, the fraction is the remainder, and we're going to use the same denominator, so it's going to be 5 over 6. And that's how you would do a subtraction equation with a fraction. And I will leave this one for you to practice on your own, and you can put your answer in the comment section. And let's move on to the practice page. We'll do one more question here to finish up this section. So let's look at question 7. This is on page 357. We have z here. That's the variable which we need to find, the missing number. There's a minus in this equation. This is an equal to sign telling us that's an equation. So we know if there's a minus, the inverse of a minus means we're going to use addition to solve this question. So we're going to add these two numbers together. So z will equal to the 1 and 5/9. I have to write this number first because it was already there, and then I'm going to add the number that is next to the z. So plus the 9 and 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to change them both into improper fractions. So let's do that. 1 times 9 is 9, and 9 plus 5 is 14. And we're going to use the same denominator, 9. For the second mixed number, 3 times 9 is 27, plus 1 is 28. And we're going to use the same denominator, 3. Right, now we can only add fractions if the denominators are the same. So we can see 9 is the denominator here and 3 here. So we have to make them the same. So look at the biggest number, which is 9. And we're going to say, okay, can 3 become 9? Yes, by multiplying by 3. So yes, it can work. So I'm going to make both the denominators 9. The first fraction, 14 over 9, will stay the same because the denominator did not change. So the numerator will also not change. But for 28 over 3, 3 times 3 will give us 9. So I also have to multiply the 28 times 3. And you can do that. 28 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24. And 2 times 3 is 6. Plus the 2 we carried is 8. So I'm going to get 84 there. So that's going to give us 84 over 9. Now I can just add them up, and that's going to give me 98 over 9. Now you can see your fraction. If you see that the top number or the numerator is bigger and the denominator is smaller, then you know it's going to change into a mixed number with a whole number and a fraction. So how do we change that? Remember, a fraction means we're going to divide them. So you can simplify it if you want, or you can just do a long division. 98 divided by 9. So how many groups of 9 can I make? I know 9 times 1 is 9, and I got no remainders. Bring down my 8, and with 8 I cannot make any groups with 8 because 9 times 1 is 9 and 8 is too little. So I know 9 times what is 98. I know 9 times 10 is 90, right? So, but I know 9 times 11 is 99, which is too big. So we only have 98. So I know I can only go with the 10. That 9 times 10 is 90. Sorry, let's just write that. 9 times 10 is 90. And that's going to give us a remainder of 8. Okay, so 10 remainder 8. So that means I'm going to get 10 and my remainder is 8, and the denominator stays the same, which is 9. Okay, and I'll leave this last question here for you to do on your own, and you can put your answer in the comment section. So I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.